All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tech Bros. Today is going to be a very special edition of the podcast because we have a company to talk about that we initially started this podcast to talk about 8 months ago. And that company just had its biggest day of 2025. That company announced some things today that I think are nothing short of incredible. And we're going to be spending the next hour to break down exactly what they announced and why it was so special. And that company is getting some respect by the street because the stock is at $97.32, which means to get us started, folks, we're going to ring the bell.
Deserve.
More.
Yes.
Tanner, Roy, how you feeling?
More than 100.
Yeah, it's crazy because I remember not that long ago, 6 months ago, beginning of this year, we're like, can this hit a new all-time high? And we're like, yeah, it can. And we were like at $40, I think. We're like, yeah, it's reasonable, like maybe even triple digits. We're halfway through the year. The stock price, it's hitting 100. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, it might even do it tomorrow. I'd be annoyed because of some covered calls, but whatever. There's worse problems to have. And it doesn't feel overvalued. I mentioned that to you guys before. What they're launching is incredible. They're leaders in this space. This is the age of Robinhood, and we're part of it.
Tanner, your raw reaction to everything today?
We talked about it a little bit, but I just don't know how they keep up this momentum next year, the year after. And I just think, I now think they're just going to go after everything. They're going to go after lending. They're going to go after financial infrastructure. They're going to go after payments. They're just going to hit everyone. And the way that no one catches up is just a sheer lack of speed. The speed here is incredible. The individual products that they've shown off are interesting. Tokenized stocks, with me and Roy, I think we'll have a little discussion about if this is going to cause them problems or not. But still, in order to break through those barriers, you have to ruffle a couple feathers. You got to get a little bit risky, and Vlad's risk tolerance is crazy. It's an unbelievable time to be an investor and be able to invest in this type of generational company. Very happy I'm a shareholder, and I'm going to be a shareholder for a long time at this rate. A long time. Yeah. Isn't that weird? Isn't that the weirdest part? We're able to buy this company now. What does it look like 10 years from now?
Yeah. Several people were asking me, is this a $1 trillion stock? Like, every stock is, not every, but eventually. But I think that they mean probably sooner than it actually will be. But it's not crazy to think of it is right now. There's no way it shouldn't deserve it. It's a crazy bull market, but yeah. But 10 years from now, it's probably won't be, but $500 billion, I can see it, which is wild. Like a Visa level of dominance at that point. Maybe even more on the table too.
I was on your side of the camp, and then today made me think $1 trillion really is possible.
It might be.
I've always been saying pound to $1 trillion. Robin, it's $700 billion. That's saying that Visa, MasterCard. But now I'm like, well, if they keep up the growth, which is hard for the next decade to keep 25-30%, but if they do, this is going to $1 trillion.
Yeah, this is they keep expanding the TAM. That's the ridiculous thing, and that's really what they did today. That I think, I bought. So I think I shared with you guys before. It's I wasn't buying more Robinhood just because of the weighting in my portfolio, and I'm fine with that. But I was like, well, I've got 80 something shares in one of my portfolios, my smallest Robinhood position out of the 4. I'm like, well, let me just buy another 20, at 83, 84. I'm like, I won't regret this. Well, I figured I might, in the next couple of months or whatever, but I'm like long term. And here it is 97. But I think the reason why the market reacted the way it was is because this is a huge TAM unlock. And we'll talk about that here in a moment. I thought, and I floated, and I think that we all did, the idea of tokenized stocks, that perhaps they were launching that. Tanner, you had a great post. You guys should follow him on X if you're not, on a little teaser that Vlad put out there regarding Ethereum and Vitalik. But it ended up not being the case, but still the tokenized stock happened, and that's massive. They're just killing it. And I want to say one more thing. Tanner, you're right. Like, I don't remember who had said it, but it's some article that I was reading earlier in the year where somebody was talking about speed as a moat. And yeah, that is Robinhood's moat. It's not the UI. It's really the speed of execution. Nobody can keep up with them. Nobody. Maybe there's some young, hungry fintechs out there possible, but not at this size, not at this scale. There's nobody like Robinhood.
Tanner, you think a trillion is possible, or we're being too bullish right now?
I think we're getting excited. But
Tanner's like, I got the adult in the room. Calm down.
It's the bear.
let's hit 100 billion first. Come on, like,
dude, we're almost there. Where are we at? We're at 80 fucking. We're
89 or something. 88 or 89. Yeah.
82, bro. Doesn't she look like she's screaming for 100 right now?
Yeah. It's gonna tap 100 at least.
It's gonna, yeah. It's gonna hit 100. Which is insane. Like, I think it was Arnie or someone that posted this. Like, going into the S&P 500 inclusion at 100, it's just incredible. Like,
yes,
you know,
I love that. I love that funds will be forced to buy at a higher premium than if the stupid S&P 500 was like, you know what, William and Sonoma can wait, although it'd never get it if it waited. Let's put Robin in 2 quarters ago, or this quarter. They're like, we're good with all these boring companies that aren't growing, that are well under the market capitalization. That's a requirement to join, not to sustain. And like, we're fine. Who cares if they're not profitable? And they missed freaking Robinhood.
yeah.
Robinhood getting in at some point. They will buy at a higher premium than really all of us because they keep hitting all-time highs. So I love that.
Well, here's the thing. They have 250 billion in AUM, right? Is it crazy to say they get to $1 trillion AUM? They're 25% of the way there. And if they do, we're going to have to run the numbers, but you know, that $1 trillion AUM doesn't equal $1 trillion market cap, but that trillion can turn to 5 trillion in the next 15 years. I mean, like, you could kind of see the potential path there. Obviously, they've got to keep growing at least 20% for the next decade. But
if we're talking $1 trillion AUM, they're going to hit that soon.
Yeah.
I see that.
How soon do you think?
A year.
I think it's a couple years out, dude. I don't think it's a year.
Yeah, I think 2-3 years, but
I don't know. So we have the UK launch, which isn't real yet because of ISAs and SIPs. They have Singapore late this year. They have what they just did at Europe right now, which is a massive TAM unlock. They're rolling out a lot of crypto products. They're rolling out a banking product. This might, as long as there's no crypto winter, and there might be, I still think that there will be. But let's say that there's not, or it's held off for a little while, and we're in a bull market. Those that are already under custody will also continue increasing at the same point. I don't think it's crazy to think maybe a year and a half from now they hit that, especially with some of the incentives that they're rolling out. Like, they know how to scale. They know how to get people on the platform.
Well, they doubled in the past year. So if they get another 2 doubles, they're kind of there. So,
yeah,
I think crypto is a really exciting area. I wanted to also highlight that, like, if Robinhood just acquired WonderFi, which is a crypto-only platform coming to Canada, and now we realize that Robinhood crypto is really just Robinhood, right? You can buy stocks and everything like this. I think the first stock that I buy on Robinhood will be much sooner than people think, and it probably won't be a real share. It will probably be some form of an ADR or tokenized share that I don't specifically own in my possession, but it will, like, the price will fluctuate the same that it would otherwise.
So let's get into it. Let's talk about what they launched today.
Who saw this before they announced it?
I think.
Yeah.
Me. Well, not this exactly, but yes.
They released that post like before they were talking about anything, and I was like, okay. So I started posting. Like, if you saw some of the timing on my post, it came out way before. It was because of that post right there.
Yeah.
They put it out as soon as the event started, I guess. So they kind of, we didn't wait until Vlad talked about it on the stage. So, but as I was reading it, I didn't understand it as much as when they showed it off. And when they showed it off, it was just that much cooler, you know, because they officially explained what they're doing. So let's take it one by one. There's a lot to dive into. I think we'll leave tokenization for last because that's the one we have to spend the most time on. So let's get through perps and then staking, and then we'll keep going from there. So first, perps. Do you guys, I learned about this like 2 weeks ago, quite frankly, what a perpetual future actually is. Did you guys know about this for a while, or was today this your introduction?
Honestly, like that's something I've looked into, and it just you got to help me out a bit. I'm like this as you are with stablecoin. Like I know a little bit, but I don't grasp it. So you got to help me out, brother.
Okay, what about you, Tanner? Do you know about this thing?
I mean, I know as much as what Coinbase showed off 2 weeks ago, and then, but I mean, I think I understand it. It's just an ability to be able to, you know, bet on the future price of these things, and you can also short it as well. So it's just a sort of playing on the actual prices of the crypto rather than having to own them.
Yeah, I mean, in the simplest terms, the way I understand it is when you buy a call option, like if I bought a option for Nvidia to get to 200, I have an expiration date, I have to pay a certain amount of premium, and I have to monitor that contract. With perpetual futures, you can leverage up based on the margin in your account, anywhere from, you know, the most advanced platforms will let you do 100x margin. Obviously, you have to have a lot of money, but I think Robinhood will let you do 5 to 10x, and you get exposure of 10x the amount of money you need to buy like 1,000 Nvidia call contracts without actually having that money in your reserves because you're using the perpetual futures contracts. And you can go short Nvidia or long Nvidia. So whenever you see people saying, oh, they got flushed out by this, or they got liquidated from some type of Bitcoin trade they were in, it's because they were perpetually long or perpetually short, and Bitcoin went the opposite direction, and they either made a lot of money or lost a lot of money. So essentially, they're just bringing the ability that a lot of other platforms that are crypto native have brought to traders for the past decade, which is the ability to go long or short on a name, especially on a crypto asset, without having all the money necessary to actually, you know, go long or short that name.
Yeah.
The concern here is that this could blow up people's accounts, which is fair. But so could futures, so could index options, so could just, you know, regular options. For the more sophisticated investors that want a suite of tools like perpetual futures, this is going to make them a lot of money.
Or lose, but yeah.
Yeah. Or lose.
I'm
Or this is
personally
going to make
not
Robinhood
going
a lot of money on the fees, but yeah.
It's for me, like crypto is kind of like him stock, where I'm like, it's volatile enough, just the shares, I'll hold those and I'll just stay away from options. So
Yeah. So that was the first thing. That was a big deal. Nothing too crazy for like the OG crypto traders. That's what they wanted. But, you know, the majority of the world is not going to really use perpetual futures. This is something I know both of you can speak to. Staking officially now in the US and EU. Roy.
Wait. I didn't know that we were done with perpetual futures. There's an important point that we need to stay on.
All right, go ahead.
Did you guys see the pricing for this?
I actually didn't. I didn't look into that.
The pricing for perpetual futures, I don't think it even says it in there, but I don't know if I can. Investor Relations emailed it out. Anyway, the cost for perpetual futures is 2 basis points on the notional volume. So if you think about where crypto is right now for Robinhood, it's about 60 basis points. So this is more akin to Coinbase, the difference between retail trading and institutional trading. Institutional trading for Coinbase is around 3 basis points, which is probably how all of them trade, is perpetual futures, either levered or not levered at all.
Right.
And so 2 basis points on this is really an institutional product. It's meaning that the average take rate on total volume is going to plummet. If I were to bet, Robinhood will separate the two, perpetual futures and the rest. But yeah, it's a moneymaker, but it also isn't. Like the volume could be 10x what or even 30x what our regular crypto is, while still making the same amount.
So I think this is like a Trojan horse, essentially, for them to get more institutional clients.
Yeah, 100%.
That's a good point.
This is their institutional play.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, they've talked a lot about institutions going back to their investor day. So yes. And also how big this was. Like, this was a fireside chat from like 2 months ago where Vlad went on and he talked about, you know, the significant institutional volume and what that would mean for Robinhood in the future. And it's something that's frankly not banked in at all. Baked in rather than banked in, but yes.
Okay, cool. So that's what we got on perps. Robinhood 97.44 in the overnight markets. Staking, Roy, I'll get your take on this first. How big of a deal was this to you? Robinhood's going to keep 25%. The user will keep 75% of their staking.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. So people might criticize this just because it's like, oh, it's the obvious play. And of course it's obvious because they shared about it during their investor day. And they said, yeah, it's a large opportunity to provide value for customers. There are plenty of people that are a little bit more crypto savvy that will put the crypto in their own wallet and will stake it. I've done that with Cardano. I've done it with Ethereum as well. But a lot of people are just not comfortable in doing that for whatever reason, or at least not at that step, or perhaps just don't have enough to really bother with. And so this is just extra added value. I'll actually stake my Ethereum on Robinhood now. I'm fine with that versus other alternatives. I don't have a lot. I've got like a little over $1,000 of Ethereum. So, no, this is an obvious play, but like getting 25%, like it's pure upside for Robinhood. There's no cost. There's no penalty to it. I don't know, because there's a lot of pushback against exactly this under Gary Gensler and the former SEC under the prior administration. I think that had the election gone a different way, Robinhood would not have been able to launch this, at least in the United States. It might have just been in the EU itself. So, but yeah, this is great.
Tanner,
I can't believe you just said Gary Gensler. I literally got like flashbacks. I saw his face in my mind. Oh my God.
Yeah, he hated crypto. My goodness.
Yeah. And they hated him.
This is why Vlad gave $2 million to Trump, bro. I mean, like they couldn't wait to get this guy out.
And it's like the craziest thing is like, even if you hate crypto, like maybe I don't think we'll have time to talk about it today, but like one of those impacts. So I think we mentioned before on stablecoin is the impact for U.S. Treasuries. Like it's very positive for the United States government, also for United States dollar dominance to perpetuate that. So you would think the United States would have every single facet behind this. And of course, Donald Trump and his administration do. Prior administration, not so much. SEC stood for a stop everything crypto. Not anymore.
The interesting thing about staking is that if you want to, with your Ethereum or Solana, which were the two that they opened up with, you can put it on cold storage, take it out, put it on a wallet, and you can stake immediately. You can go right to those nodes, say, here's my money, done. And they'll give you the full percentage back. I think on Solana, it's like 6.4%. I think on Ethereum, it's like 5%, something like that. Paid out every 3 days. I think Ethereum's a little bit different of a payment schedule. I think it's every 5 days, something like this. I can go into what is staking, but that'll be it would be like 2 minutes. But
no, go ahead. No, honestly, for like the beginners, including myself, what exactly is staking?
So like Bitcoin, which is proof of work, you have to solve complex problems in a way to verify that you are doing what you're proving the work. You're actually doing the calculations. You can, get the reward, and you're backing the network. On proof of stake, what it is saying there's a bunch of computers or nodes, okay, and the way that cryptocurrency works is that you're not trusting one information source, you're trusting a network. And so as the transactions are coming through, these computers can see those, and then they have to verify that they're true. So they're saying, okay, this transaction was $100. And then they go to all the other nodes, all the other computers, and say, this was $100, this was $100, this was $100. And if they all line up and it was all the same, then they say, okay, this transaction was verified. If, for example, they get into a situation where everyone says, hey, this transaction was $100, and there's a hacker or somebody that is trying to defraud the network that says, well, this $100 transaction, this was actually 1 million, okay? Trying to change the ledger to actually be put through. Then they say, hey, this transaction's $1 million. But the rest of the entire blockchain environment, all these computers that are working for Ethereum, say it's 100, they know that person that's saying 1 million is a liar. Okay, that's why the network gets stronger the more computers you have, because you want you vote based on majority, right? So whatever has the highest majority, that's where the ledger goes. That's a little confusing, but essentially, whenever you put up a node, you are backing it with real dollars. You're saying, I'm going to tell the truth, and I promise, and I have a security deposit here. That's your stake, okay? And if you're wrong, they will burn your money. So you can't be wrong. You got to tell the truth. So essentially, it's just saying, hey, we're a bunch of computers that are telling the truth, and here's our money to offer up as stake to say that we will tell the truth. And if you lie, you burn your money.
It's called a distributed ledger, and in essence, the reason why it works is somebody would have to seize control of more than half of those. So in other words, if somebody owned half of all Ethereum in the world, they could lie, but I mean, at that point, like, it would crash and crush Ethereum. So they have a vested interest to continue to perpetuate the system.
So
and nobody
users can stake their ETH and get a yield. That's the benefit for anyone who owns ETH.
Yeah. Somebody in the comments said it's 2.53. It fluctuates usually between 3 and 5% for Ethereum. It's higher for Solana right now and probably will continue to be.
Yeah, I might be off on Ethereum, I'm definitely a Solana guy, but
it used to be higher for Ethereum, but it's not now.
You're rewarded for backing the network, and you're punished if you lie. And so staking is just offering up your money to say that these computers will tell the truth.
Do you think it's meaningfully going to be a revenue driver for Hood?
Yes, huge.
Why?
Just because total assets under custody lead to a large like Coinbase, for example, 15% of their entire revenue base is staking rewards.
Well, that's Coinbase staking customer assets or customers staking in Coinbase?
Customers staking in Coinbase. Coinbase takes a percentage.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, we've seen this, and this is one of the reasons why the SEC pushed back against staking. Just one of many. There are a number of people that do cold wallets and then will stake, and you'll get more yield that way. I've done that before too, but most people are a little bit uncomfortable doing that if they've never done that before. And also, they just say, it's a convenience thing. So in essence, this is a small convenience fee that they're paying Robinhood to just custody their crypto. And the reason why we know that this works is Coinbase, great example, Tanner, but also banks. Like if you have $10,000 sitting in your bank, you're collecting interest. A lot of people will do that, for emergency funds. But there's a lot of people that'll do that well above in advance of what they could get from like a CD. So they just say, it's convenient. It's right there. I have access to it. And they just prefer to be able to have their eyeballs on it every day.
We might have just touched 98. We're at 97, 98 right now. Holy. In overnight markets.
Holy guacamole. I mean, there's not as much volume. Volume is 220,000 shares. Nothing.
Yes, but we're 2 cents away, Amit. You're missing the picture.
Dude, someone posted this meme today. Hold on, I gotta show you this.
Hey, we did it.
Got it?
Oh, it's gone.
No, it's there. Dude, someone posted this meme today, bro. This meme was hilarious. Look at this. Amit all day today. It literally was like 10.
Yes. I love it. Oh, and you, I'm sure know this, Amit, but our chat may not. Steve, somebody mentioned it, did indeed buy Robinhood. After I gifted him Robinhood shares at like $13, Tanner talked his ear off, Amit talked his ear off, pen to the table. The man saw the light at a much lower amount than it is currently right now. So he's a shareholder too.
Wait, when did he buy? It's because he bought the gifted shares that you gave him, right?
No, he actually bought some shares.
Wow.
He posted a very kind of a trolly article on Seeking Alpha, but basically said, yeah, my friends were right. They've been telling me about Robinhood for a long time. I was wrong. They were right. And I'm buying. And then we talked to him and he bought Robinhood. I don't know if it's a huge position for him, but he saw the light. So hallelujah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, this is one of those days where, a stock going up $14 at this point, if you even have 1,000 shares, that's $14,000. Actually, if you have 500 shares, that's 7,000. Like, no matter what your share count is, that is that's the beauty of compounding, right? And it happens in these growth stocks. You usually need a growth stock. You need a generational founder. You need a company that just innovates to the point where the street has to pay attention, which is what Vlad showed off today. And then you have a market that potentially, we'll talk about S&P inclusion later, starts to recognize that the institutional capital can't ignore it anymore either. And as a result, if the S&P committee decides they get in at 100 and funds have to buy it at 100, 105, it'll be pretty incredible.
Going back to staking really quick, unless you want to shout that out.
I was going to talk about tokenization, but go ahead, finish thinking.
Well, with staking, the reason why it's really bullish is essentially if we get $100 billion of crypto, let's imagine 100% of that was in Ethereum or just Solana, because I know what the percentage is. It's roughly about 6%. Imagine $100 billion making 6% per year. Okay. That's going into users' accounts, whether they sit on Ethereum. It's essentially making a Solana or Ethereum dividend. Okay. And then on top of that, the payout, do you guys know how much Robinhood makes?
25%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the user only makes 75% of that stake, of the 6%. Robinhood would make 25%. So if it's $100 billion, they're going to make 25% of 6%.
When Robinhood did that 1% crypto match, and they're doing a match right now, was it a year or 2 years that somebody had to keep their assets there to get the full match?
I'm pretty sure it was 2 years.
So the genius of that is not all the crypto transferred over is going to be something that can be staked, but a lot of it will be. So, it's like, okay, there's a reason why they're building this up. There are things that they're launching that's just going to play right into the crypto assets under custody. And this is one of those where it's like, okay, and I need to check my app too, just for the Ethereum, just to see, like, is there something I need to enable? I don't know that it's automatic, but I'm sure that they'll send out notifications and let people know, like, hey, there's money on the table for you. But if you're already locked in for 2 years, like, you could always take it off and stake it yourself, no problem. But you're like, hey, I already got this matching bonus. I'll just keep it here for 2 years. And Robinhood makes money off of that.
What is the thing at now? The
stock?
Oh,
the
no,
one,
the matching.
the 1% to 2% match thing.
Oh, so they got, did you guys, they got rid of it today, right? They
Got rid of it. I thought it goes to July 7th.
Oh, you guys didn't see the announcement.
No.
You
I'm not a
guys
user.
weren't paying attention to the stream.
I was just looking at the stock ticker all day. That's all.
All right. Well, breaking news, folks.
We all got 2%?
They took away the 500 minimum requirement.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting 2%.
Nice.
I think they probably knew they could afford 2%, but the 500 million was like to create the urgency. They're not going to hit it, by the way. I think they had 70 million yesterday, so they weren't really going to hit it, but they
were not on track at all.
It's still impressive, 70 million, but they weren't going to hit it. So I think they just realized, why not? Like, let's just get as much as we can, incentivize people, because they have the unit economics to pull these matches off, which is the more exciting part about this.
I had this whole thing in this video I was going to upload, and then I didn't actually end up editing. But I was like, the best thing for them to do is if they get to 499 and then they don't end up passing. I was like, we don't want 2%. But yeah, that's.
Well, think about that. The fact that they're confident to give 2% means I think they feel this quarter and Q3, because eventually they'll pay it out in Q3. A lot of it they've already paid out in Q2. They should feel pretty confident about this quarter.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about the big news of the day. Tokenization is here. We've been hearing about this for a very, very long time. It is officially live today. What is tokenization? We'll try to dissect and get deeper into it, but essentially it is allowing people across the world, at least right now in Europe, to have the same type of infrastructure, settlement, and access to buying assets, U.S. assets in the stock market, like we do in the United States. Good friend of the channel, Arnie, also fellow Hood Bill since 7. He was able to buy, he's in Italy, his first tokens of Robinhood today on the Robinhood app. It's not Robinhood crypto anymore for him. It is just Robinhood. And then the other really big thing they announced, and we'll go deeper into that in terms of the private startups, is they gave away euros of OpenAI and SpaceX privatized tokens to everybody to kind of show off how you can immediately gain access to a private token version of a startup, which ultimately it represents these companies. By the way, I was looking at OpenAI prices yesterday. They're going for $4.95 a share, which is pretty accurate in terms of the prices that they pick.
Yeah.
Roy, let's start off with you. Tokenization. Is it going to change everything for Robinhood?
Yes. Yeah, we saw Robinhood, I think in March, apply for this for the United States. Coinbase followed suit earlier this month. That got a little more attention than Robinhood for some reason. But I think people realize like it's near. The shocking thing to me is that they launched in Europe first. Europe is known for a bastion of regulation that thwarts every kind of innovation. Yet here, go for it. And it's massive. It's not every single ticker out there. It's a certain number of ETFs, a certain number of US stocks that have a lot of high volume, high interest. But it's 24/5 trading too, which is not something that I think is very common in Europe. Now, correct me if wrong, but I believe it's instant settlement. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Which is also a huge deal because stocks, even with T+1, so it's a lot shorter than it used to be even a year ago, that's meaningful. And it gives a lot of people access to something they didn't have. And they launched it in a really smart way. I think Bitstamp was probably necessary to complete this as far as a regulation, which is probably one of the reasons why they acquired it. But they launched the crypto wallet first. So a lot of people already have the wallet. They already have crypto on there. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, guess what, guys? You can trade US stocks. And I personally know, and I'm sure you guys know as well, especially in the creator world, a number of people that are just pounding the table, begging and asking for Robinhood because, I mean, there's some okay options over there, but nothing like Robinhood, especially 24/5 trading, instant settlement, and having access to private equity. Like, you can just see the direction that it's going. This isn't going to stop in Europe. It's going to continue on. And there will be some places where just because of regulation, they have to slow their roll. But in the United States, like for us, instant settlement is an amazing thing. Eventually, 24/7 markets will be on behalf of this, I believe. And also access to private markets is a huge, huge deal for a lot of retail people that would love to have stake in something like, maybe you don't like OpenAI, but SpaceX, Paxos, there's a lot of great companies, Stripe. So it's exciting. It's a huge TAM unlock too, because they don't, based on regulation, and I don't know like the full framework, the law, and like if there's a limit on how much that they can do as far as rolling this out. But this allows them to also deploy their platform a lot more aggressively. So that launch, for instance, to Singapore that's coming late this year, they do have some interesting crypto regulation. They're actually a little bit more together in Singapore than anywhere else in the world where it relates to crypto. And so we've kind of gotten conditioned with the UK launch of like, okay, they launch it, but it's not really real. Like, you can't do margin, you can't do options. There's no ISAs or SIPs, which are very important products for the UK. And so it's very limited. But, a few people get on it, check it out, and they slowly roll out all those features. In Singapore, it might be a much more aggressive launch if they do it by a wrapped token like this. So it'll be something to keep posted on, but it expands TAM and it accelerates the reach of that TAM. It's exciting. And it's cheap.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said, and the fact that it's live now. And Arnie's video is like when I buy Robinhood. It is the same experience. And there's all this complex shit in the background to make it seem that simple, but he doesn't need to care about that. He doesn't even need to know how Robinhood makes money on it. He just needs to know this experience is better.
Yeah.
And that's why it's exciting. Tanner, your thoughts on tokenization?
Very cool. Very innovative. I just don't want it to go wrong. And what we need to do is get someone from Robinhood Crypto onto this podcast, which I think we might be able to do. I'm not setting anything up. We definitely haven't reached out or anything like that, but am I too confident in thinking that maybe we could? But
we can ask.
Yeah.
We know
it would be very cool if we could.
What Tanner does, he announces stuff live, and now we all have to figure this out.
We know a guy or two that works at Robinhood, so.
Okay, so officially announcing Robinhood's crypto representative is going to come on and explain that stock or tokenization of stocks is not going to depeg somehow, because instant settlement, like, I mean, what if it's off by a penny? Like, I don't know. Like, how does that happen? There's so much.
Meaning Nvidia's trading at 157.50. And it ends up being 157.49. You think that's a big issue at that point?
That's a huge issue.
Explain huge. Why?
Well, because who fills that gap? Like Robinhood? Then
there's always a spread. Like that kind of a spread I don't think is worrisome. What I think is more of a concern is lower volume stocks that might, I don't understand the technology behind it. I'll just be honest. So I'm kind of curious on that. But, if there's a wide spread as a result of this, or something even worse happens, like, that's not good. Robinhood, though, like the quality of their engineering, I don't have concerns here. even though I don't know how it works. Now, if it was a different company that I didn't have a grasp on the engineering, on the capability of that team, yeah, I'd have concerns. But, Robinhood, if Coinbase, or when Coinbase rather launches something like this, don't have concerns there either. Versus, IBKR, like if as a shareholder, I'd be like, I don't know if their engineers are really up to the same level. So,
well, and also if it's a tokenized share and you're selling it, and they can find a market where tokenized shares get so common that you can find a buyer and it stays tokenized, there's no worry. But I don't know. I just need to make sure that doesn't happen, because if it does, and then somehow they end up closing the buy button or something like this, we've got a catastrophe all over again. And whenever Robinhood plays in these new spaces, the space that no one else has played in before, you'd be very I don't know. There were stable coins that were pegged that weren't supposed to be depegged, and then were I don't know. This has happened before. There has been depegging events, and then all trust gets lost.
Yeah, I mean, there's always risks to these new products. I fully need to go deeper into even understanding tokenization as a framework. Vlad did use a chalkboard today to kind of explain to everybody the architecture beneath it, and I'm sure he'll do more interviews and podcasts in the future to understand it. But if it does go well, it opens up the entire. And the other reason I think it's going to go well is because Coinbase is doing this, Kraken's doing this, Binance is doing every major exchange has an incentive to make sure that it doesn't get depegged, and that spreads are incredibly thin, and that there's massive liquidity in this industry, because now you got people across the world in Asia, Africa, Europe that are going to be able to buy a share of NVIDIA without having to worry about their country or their continent having the sophistication of American brokerages to be able to allow them to own those shares of NVIDIA. And that is powerful. That's very
super
powerful.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be, talk about whenever you're the percentage of US households that own equities, what that did to the average multiple of stocks, then take that out to the rest of the world. I mean, US equities will have multiples that we've never seen.
Yeah, that's the genius thing. Just going back to the administration and the shift, I've been critical where I think it's been warranted, but this just helps the United States markets. It helps United States companies. The expansion of crypto and being friendly to crypto helps U.S. treasuries. It helps dollar dominance. There's been a lot of concerns over the last 2 decades where people are like, hey, we could really see a shift away from this. And it's just this is a beautiful thing for users certainly, but also for the government. So, but yeah, I am very curious to learn more. I didn't find any white papers or anything as far as how this works. Maybe they don't have to roll that out, but I'd be curious to learn more, and hopefully we can get maybe a Johan or somebody that can kind of share and talk about the technology behind that. Yeah. Why not?
Yep. They also slipped this announcement in. I think Roy might like this. Just as fancy cards for different, coins that you end up enjoying, or which one represents you as an investor. And I felt like that was very much like this company and what they did with their cards. Venmo showing off different sports teams, and then Vlad coming out with their own, but for crypto, which I thought was also very appropriate.
Cashback for crypto, right?
Yeah.
Crypto back.
Yeah.
Coinbase announced that, something like that too, with a Bitcoin card as well. But this is just exciting times for consumers, and that's a beautiful thing about competition, is it's really good for us. So it's awesome.
So tokenization, staking, perpetual futures. I mean, the market obviously loves it. I guess here's the question. Let's talk about the stock. Does it deserve 20% on the day? Is this hype? Is this hype? Is this bullshit? Are people chasing? Is this people recognizing Robin is chasing the world? How would you think of the movement today?
So just from now, it'll probably pull back at some point. Who knows when it's going to happen? And we saw Robinhood in the high 20s in April. So it can fall a lot in turbulent times. But ultimately, especially into institutions, they don't worry, especially in a bull market, as much about valuation as market leaders. Those that can expand TAM, those can expand revenue, they can unlock new sources of revenue, and just continue to dominate for a long, long time. So, is Robinhood cheap right now? I would say no, it is not. I'm done buying. So, unless it just really falls back to the earth. But I think it matters more to big wigs that are buying, institutions as well, that Robinhood has really emerged as a market leader in this space that is absolutely going to disrupt not just brokerages, but like finance, the finance world in general, democratizing finance. It's not just hyperbole. It's not just empty talk. Like, they have an action plan to do it. If you go back to, again, that investor day, I think that was really the turning point for a lot of the institutions, where they saw, okay, they've executed at a high level. They're given us the roadmap. And then just again and again through events like this, they are just launching things that are disrupting whole spaces, unlocking new TAM. And it can be leveraged on what they're doing on the existing on their existing ecosystem. For instance, right now we have 24/5 trading, but they do it through a partner, boats, Blue Ocean. There may be a point in the next couple of years where they say, okay, thank you, Blue Ocean, for your time. We can handle this now through this tokenized asset.
Definitely.
And that saves them a lot of money, just higher and higher margins. Like, they're just smart in the way that they do this. And they didn't have to hire an extra 10,000 employees. They actually have fewer employees than they had 3 years ago by a meaningful amount, which is crazy for what they've done.
By like 30-40%.
Yes.
And how much are they and going back to monetization, how much are they making on these tokenized US stocks?
Yes.
Do you guys know?
I have no idea.
10 basis points.
Wait, how do you know all this stuff, bro? Where'd you get all these details from?
Smart cookie.
Did you do some digging to find this shit out? Like, how'd you?
Nope. They just send me an email.
You got the same email, man.
I did get the same email. I didn't read the email though. I was a little busy today.
But yeah, 10 basis points. If you think about their take rate on equities, it's actually much lower than that, really. So this is much better for them. And I still think it's very fair and very cheap, and like, this is incredible. So
yeah, I don't know all the players in Europe, but it is meaningfully lower than anything out there. So
yeah. That is that's the exciting part. That's really the three monetizable things: staking, perpetual futures, and tokenized US stocks. All very exciting. Perpetual futures seemed much lower than I ever would have imagined it to be on the take rate, by a factor of like 10 or 20 times. But still, they have to compete in the space that's very competitive. And in order to do that, in order to win market share, that's the going rate. But yeah, that's what's crazy about crypto, though, right? It's like, even on retail crypto trading, some companies take 1.5%, some take 0.5%. But the margin is insane. Like, they don't have to charge you 1.5 or even 0.5%. They could charge you what Robinhood used to charge you at 0.1. Everything else is essentially greed. And yeah, it works out for those businesses. They're definitely great businesses to invest in.
What's the craziest thing to me? Like, this is just going back. We won't talk about this, but I want to use this as an example. This was just 10 days ago, if you throw this up a minute. Just 10 days ago, they did a soft launch on their mortgage referral business. For most companies, they would be talking about they'd be announcing it from the rooftop. They may be going on CNBC. They'd be talking with Sage, releasing joint announcements. Like, this would be one of those big things in the year. Vlad, like a day later, was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we launched this, guys," almost as an afterthought. Which we won't go into like this because we talked about it last week. And then they do all this, in the span of 10 days. It's just the speed and velocity of this company. Where for other companies, this would be like, "Oh wow, mortgages, this is an amazing thing," and Robinhood's like, "Oh yeah, we forgot that we should have probably announced it, but yeah, no big deal." Moving on, crypto event. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Like, when are they going to talk about? They're not going to talk about mortgages in the active trader event. So like, are they going to have like there's so many products at this point because they didn't do any formal introduction, right? And then someone, you guys saw my tweet over the weekend, right? Someone texted that they got a 5.96% rate.
Yeah.
So like it's legit. It's not just like a gimmick that they're throwing out there in the app.
And crypto can actually back mortgages now. So I mean, it just everything's working out really well for Robinhood.
Only if they're on centralized exchanges as well, which is hilarious. But Robinhood falls into that.
I know, like in the Invest America stuff that's like 3 weeks old. Like, dude,
I forgot about Invest America that happened. Like,
I know, like that's the thing. We have to at some point, like maybe at the year end, just like do a recap of like, here's what they freaking did this year, because it's ridiculous. Like what they're doing in like a year is what most companies, like if they do it in 5 years, they're like, man, look at how we killed it. And it just, I don't know how they're doing it.
Yeah, I really don't. Going to the question of does this day deserve this run up? I don't know. I don't think so. But I think it's the culmination of, hey, wow, they're really not going to stop. Like no one's planning on slowing them down.
That's what I think. Because they didn't introduce stuff that would increase like revenue tomorrow, but like everyone's perceiving, holy shit, these guys aren't stopping.
Staking is going to be immediate. You're going to start seeing that in quarters immediately. So that's important. Perpetual futures, I don't know if we'll ever see.
In terms of meaningful revenue impact, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, like it will be there, but it'll be there the same way that index options is there. Like, I mean, it's there. I'm happy it's there. The quarter would look different without it, but they're not going to shout it out.
Yeah, I don't think retail was chasing it today. To an extent, they probably did. But do we really think retail, at these levels was just like buying it up as much as they could? Like it kind of felt this was more institutions realizing, all right, we know S&P is around the corner and we're seeing them expand the trajectory of their business. I'm sure some retail were like, screw it, I'm getting in, I missed the story, I'm in, I'm buying more. But I do think there were some big money managers that have not performed this year, that have missed, the entire dip and then run up, that are like, all right, what do I get exposure from that has a crypto stablecoin narrative to it as well? That also, I mean, Coinbase ran last week, Circle's been running like that when they announced it at the end of the event, I think that kind of contextualized it for some thematic investors. And so you have a lot of cohorts of people coming together saying, all right, we're going to bet on HUD.
Yeah, the problem is too, right, is like even for those that aren't buying in and they see it and they go, oh my gosh, I could have gotten in at so many times. There will be some shock that brings this company to even to 80. And then people will say, don't buy now. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it goes right back and then it goes to 110 and they're like, ah, shit. Like that's always what happens. Even whenever companies dip, people think it's going to drop to zero. Like there's going to be a screaming buy where everyone opens up the gates and they're going to give you a bunch of days to go, here, come on inside. Like,
yeah, they'll be like, I'll buy Robinhood when it gets to 20. It's like, yeah, if it gets to 20 at this point, unless the world is ending, I'll sell a lot of stuff and buy Robinhood. I don't need 3 kids. I can do with 2. So, I mean, wait, no, you didn't hear that, FBI. So,
yeah. What brings Robinhood back to 30 at this point? Oh, well, maybe the president of the United States needs to get in a trade war with 200 countries. Maybe that gets us back down to 30. Like, try betting on the outcome of the chances of that, So, I don't know. I mean, you're not gonna see what we ended up seeing in April for a long time.
Well, I agree with Doug, and this is a broader macro conversation we can have one day. But so, like, do we get another 2022 type of a bear market? Because it feels like dips get bought, we move on. AI, innovation, tech earnings are there, and it'll be bad for a little bit, and then we go forward.
Maybe. Like the one thing that I'm seeing, things seem pretty healthy, but there's a lot of debt out there. The buy now, pay later trend, which a lot of people have been taking advantage of, is going to hit FICO scores, which is going to impact a lot of people's access to credit markets and may, as a result, cause some issues. If we continue to be higher for longer or forever under Powell, that can cause some cracking and some pain. I think that they're going to be slow in reacting to that. And the other big thing is there's what is it, like 3 to 4 million people that are defaulting now or about to default on their student loans. So what happens there is the federal government is actually sending out letters late this summer So that's coming up soon. They'll let them know, like, hey, this is what's happening. And as a result, student loans just don't go away. They can't be discharged in bankruptcy. Instead, your wage is garnished. And a lot of those income repayment type programs are phasing out. Now, they won't phase out for several years, but there's some impact. Like things are not as rosy as it suddenly appears. There can also be more trade turbulence. We've seen some of that with Canada, which isn't the biggest deal. I think it gets resolved, but yeah, we could see. I think it's still very unlikely, but there are some things that could put us in a. Of course, corrections will happen all the time. Pullbacks will happen all the time. Bear market, I still would bet against a bear market through 2029, but that's a lot of time between now and then.
Yeah, Mum Donnie can always get like elected president. Stocks will fall. I don't know.
You don't like Mum Donnie? What's wrong with Mum Donnie? Are you racist?
Yeah, that's the connection there. That was a racist comment. No, I think
he's a brown man in America fighting for all the marginalized people. I think it's kind of weird that you don't like this guy.
I actually think quite the opposite. Whenever I see an Indian as the CEO of a business, it's a very investable trait. It's like super investable. So I see a brown man in power. My money's going towards that. But no, to be fair though, I don't think that giving people free stuff works. And
Tanner's getting a little political here. We haven't got this out of him in a minute.
Maybe I should stop then.
No, it's good. It's good. It's safe. He's telling us how you feel about communism. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I'm a big capitalist guy, and obviously, I think a lot of people are not financially literate, and not to their own. I don't think that those people are actually at fault. It's not taught in schools. Like it's so against them. But this is why companies like SoFi are going to do so well forever, is because I do actually think they're doing well by their members. And if federal student loans end up not being a thing because it's gotten people in such terrible ways, that companies like SoFi will be so well positioned, it's crazy. And yeah, but this is always what happens, is that people will turn to people like Mum Donnie because he says, hey, actually, we're going to give you a bunch of stuff for free. And then that's not going to turn out well.
Well, look, he said over the weekend billionaires shouldn't exist. I'm not a billionaire, but Vlad is. And I did really well today in the stock market because Vlad made $500 million because he has 50 million shares, 10 times $10 a share. I didn't make $500 million today, but still, like, him being a billionaire is helping me do okay, helping all of us do okay. So
I think to some degree, everyone needs incentive. And there should be no billionaires tweeted from an iPhone. Like, I mean, the stuff that we get and we enjoy every day is because people were still able to be hungry and creative past $1 billion, right? What is Jeff Bezos whenever he is completely told that he has a 99% tax at that point? I mean, he's like, we're gonna have another wedding in Venice. He's gonna just chill, right? If all billionaires just chilled, the world's innovation would slow down. And I don't know. I like cancer research. I like rocket research. I like a lot of things that billionaires do. There's a bunch of old scummy ones that are into healthcare price fixing and stuff like this. And that's what people consider like the name of all billionaires. But I think that there's a lot of people, like, I'm not trying to slow down how much money Jared Isaacman has. This dude is a net positive on the world. Okay. So I'm just not in favor of.
You're passionate about this. This is something you care about.
Well, yeah, just an arbitrary. Oh, once that digit goes over to 10 digits, that's an evil person now. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
that's one of the beautiful things about the Invest America plan is it's not it's not an immediate solution, but it does give people stake and buy-in. They can see how the system benefits them directly, and they tend to miss the obvious, right? Like, you have running water, you have lights, you have an iPhone, you have access to the internet, you have a computer, you have all this great technology, access to LLMs that are, do very good even just on a free system. And they don't appreciate that, but you see it, like, oh, I've got this amount of money because stock market's doing good. That's a healthy thing for America. So hopefully, we'll see a big impact from that, and we can move away from this current system. But yeah, wealth inequality is a concern, but like the answer isn't like, let's stop all these billionaires because they're all evil. It's like, no, they've built, not everybody, but for the most part, they've built incredible things. And like you said, Amit, like we benefit from Hood just from owning the stock, but even more so, like every single retail trader that's out there, especially in the United States, but I think worldwide as well, because of the disruption from Robinhood. Like, do you think that Webull would exist without Robinhood? Maybe, but would it be offering as attractive of a setup? I don't think so. Would Schwab be innovating and changing their system? No, they would not. They were happy the way things were, and so disruption just benefits us as consumers. It's exciting.
My camera died. 1 sec.
Yeah, I think the other thing here is that, like, again, Vlad has 50 million shares. I'm sure most people in the chat, including myself, do not have 50 million shares, but whatever amount of shares you have times the number of dollars the stock moved up today, that is capital that's compounding. Like, and the reason I'm mentioning it today is because it was a dramatic move, right? 10, 15 bucks times however many shares. That's a lot of money for whatever personal financial situation you're in. And that is capitalism happening. And that's because Vlad has the incentive to make his 50 million shares worth more because he has his own financial stake. I'm sure he's motivated to build a really good company, but also, those 50 million shares helps his motivation. And because he's motivated, we're motivated to invest. Our investment dollars then go into the R&D that Robinhood does to build all these amazing products so that they can actually show the market they should get a premium. And it works in this kind of beautiful way that if you trust and believe in companies that can execute, and there's capital out there, liquidity out there to give them what they need to thrive and survive, then they can really compound capital. And the beautiful thing is, if that continues over the next 10, 20 years, then this company is going to make a lot of us enjoy the fruits of our labor and the fruits of taking a risk on what seems to be a generational founder.
If I could just say one last thing on this, is that we just saw a billionaire who somehow is still incentivized to put out brand new companies that are bringing the world onto markets, that are helping with all of these extra things. Like, these are products for consumers. If you don't want them, you don't have to use them. I think where a lot of the price fixing and gouging of customers usually happens because of regulatory capture and not actually because of free markets. Like, where you see a lot of the most scummy places in capitalism are by far the heaviest regulated. Finance, healthcare, housing, like all of these areas where people get like really concerned about how greedy billionaires are being, are also the ones that are like, politicians are in their corner and everything like this. Like, the more consumer friendly Amazons of the world that are just competing with Walmart and everything like this, I don't think too many people have. I mean, maybe they do. Jeff Bezos is maybe in that camp, but I personally see Amazon as a massive net benefit than something that we didn't have before.
Can you keep ranting about capitalism? Because as you're ranting, the stock just keeps going higher. And so can you just keep...
Let me talk about the merits of communism, because I don't want it to go past $100 by Thursday.
Dude, bro, who's buying this shit right now?
Stop it.
I mean, my mom had covered calls at 77 before S&P inclusion. We wrote them for 95, July 3rd. They were up like 80%. I said, leave it, 95, July 3rd. Well, we're underwater now for her covered calls. So
yeah, it's not the worst.
Tanner, it's mostest heaviest regulated.
Dude, today I was reading a sentence that described the word of the day, and it said dessert menu, and I said the desert menu. Took some shit for that one.
I had this whole ChatGPT prompt to make you reading a desert menu, but I wasn't going to I thought you had enough flack on X today already, so
X was fun today. X was a fun time today.
Well, my worst moment with that was when I was like 11 or 12 in Mexico. We took a family trip, and I learned some Spanish my parents taught me, just enough to be conversational. Had this pretty good conversation with a lady in the elevator going up to her room. And I ended that conversation with Buenos Nachos. And I turned even redder than that shirt that's behind me. And I've never forgotten it. So we all make mistakes.
Like, we're live right now, man. How are you tweeting this?
Dude, I just typed it up and I pressed send like 20 minutes ago whenever I sent it.
I don't know how that man does it. Like with his setup, like somehow he has like extra arms, hands, fingers. I don't know, but
I remember I was seeing him talk with Steve yesterday, and in just the funniest nature ever, he's like listening to Scott Bessent, asking Steve about it, and asking him questions that were based on him listening to what Scott had to say. And then he's like adding me to group chats with people and like, hey, can you help out Tanner with this, StreamYard? Like he's doing tech support on the side. And I'm like, man, you need an assistant or something. This is ridiculous. Like,
dude, we got to get shit done, bro. We got to get shit done. So, I got 3 screens. I'm working 3 screens. And it's so funny because every time I play a video, like during the live stream, or I play like Tom Lee speaking or something, some random clip that we need to watch, people know like I'm getting ready to tweet. They just know like, all right, it's going to put out some tweet right now.
But you're still listening though.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I guess I just got used to it. It's the power of multitasking. I mean, this is like, content creation is when you're locked in, you're attacking multiple platforms, trying to talk in the chat, all that stuff. So yeah, it's just part of the job, I guess. I do not use an AI agent. I don't use AI for any of my tweets, dude. It's like, you can tell when people use AI for their tweets and it's just like, it ends up being a crappy tweet.
You'll use Cortex though, right?
Oh yes. I mean, and they announced a bunch they announced a bunch of crypto Cortex products too.
Yeah.
Which we didn't even talk about, but like that stuff's gonna be cool. Let's look at this video real quick. So this is when they announced the OpenAI SpaceX stuff this morning.
To private companies like SpaceX and OpenAI, which are now worth billions of dollars.
That would be exciting to do, wouldn't it? But why talk about doing it later when we can do it right now?
Can we acknowledge this outfit, bro?
Yeah.
I just love this outfit.
I literally had this up just for the same thing. I'm like,
this is great.
You missed the best part though. He put on shades at one point.
Yeah. Well, several of their team did, so that is great.
Yeah.
He put on shades during it, and he looked like a Bond villain.
He's a billionaire, so I guess.
You may have been wondering what this awesome briefcase that I walked in with was for. Well, I'm holding in my hands right now the keys to the first ever stock tokens for OpenAI. And not just OpenAI, but also SpaceX. SpaceX is in here too. If you download the Robinhood EU app, which we gave you ample warning to do, you're about to figure out why we gave you that warning. I'd like to transfer these tokens to you and give you exposure to 2 of the most valuable private companies in the world right now. We'll give you a week to onboard, then we're going to release all the tokens. So as long as you're a Robinhood EU customer, you'll be able to claim what we believe are the world's first OpenAI and SpaceX private stock tokens on a decentralized blockchain.
And just remember, the deadline is end of day on Monday, July 7th or July 7th. This is really exciting, and I can't wait to see it.
I mean, I thought that was pretty cool because, again, they're not going to launch all the tokenized startups soon, but like they wanted to give you a little hint of what it looks like. And it's pretty cool that it's happening.
Yeah.
It was incredible. It really was. And also, this is what's happening in the background while the stream is going. People, this is how I don't understand how you guys do it. Like, I'm just getting roasted over here. I didn't even hear what you guys just played because I'm staring at this stupid image.
You got to get better at multitasking, bro. You got to be able to see the roasts on Twitter and listen to the video.
I never really saw the Ned Flanders thing, but every illustration of me, I'm like, that looks like Ned Flanders. And I'm just like,
there are worse people to look like. So
yeah, he's a handsome chap.
Yeah. But it is kind of interesting though. EU first, we in the United States get to be jealous of some financial product that EU has access to that we don't. So it's a weird feeling. I don't like it.
K. Roger, thank you for the $25 super chat. Amit is the Sydney Sweeney of the internet. I appreciate that. I am not the Sydney Sweeney of the internet. Do you know, though, Sydney Sweeney was talking it up with Tom Brady at the Bezos wedding? Did you guys hear about that?
I did. I'm surprised I did, but I did.
I mean, that would be kind of crazy if Mr. Brady and Sweeney became a thing. You know what I'm saying? That'd be a little crazier than robbing up 20% of the day. I'm just saying. But all right, let's end it off with this. What do you guys think? Are we going to 100 like anytime soon? What is your kind of price prediction for you think this fades out? Like, how do you think this plays out?
I'll put it this way. Tevis sold covered calls to 105 by next week. So we're going past that.
Yeah. I don't know. These types of companies, man, they can be very very explosive. But we're gonna pass 100.
Covered calls. You're welcome. You capped all your gains. You're welcome.
Why didn't we talk about this though? Out of all the images we're all making fun of images of me, and then no one's talking about this though.
What is this? Oh, dude, I showed this on stream already, but we can show it again.
Did you?
I showed it to my stream as the day you posted it. I was like, look what Tanner cooked up, guys.
You guys are cute. I don't know why it made Steve that way.
It was ChatGPT or Grok?
ChatGPT.
Okay. Well, look, in all seriousness, when it comes to covered calls, the thing about covered calls is that you want to benefit when the stock is volatile, but not volatile in terms of a parabolic move to the upside. And Roy and I have already went through this when it came to Palantir. My advice right here, I think to state the obvious, which might happen, might not happen, is Robinhood might do, I think Roy knows where I'm going with this, what Palantir did in 2024. And if they are going on a Palantir type of run, which by the way, kind of is already happening. I mean, if they get to 120,
feels like that.
It feels like that, right? If they're doing that, get the hell out of the way. Mm-hmm. Get the hell out of the way, which means roll those contracts. I think realistically, you can go to like January, February, 120, 115. Be a little patient. They're going to increase the strikes very soon. It's not, I think the latest, the earliest is 115 on February. January is 120. They will introduce 130, 135, 140 probably in like the next couple of weeks because they're just going to have to. There's just going to be too much demand. So I would get out, even if you have to pay a little bit of a debit. You shouldn't care about not making any income off the shares because when the stock is going up, the appreciation from the shares matters way more than the income. But also, you got to remember this about covered calls. If you roll it to like 115 in March, there is no guarantee Robinhood's going to be 135 by March, right? They might have a little bit of a bearish quarter. You might have a macro thing that happens, and we saw if you had a Palantir covered calls in April, that was your blessing to get the hell out of them. You had the opportunity. The market gave you the chance. I don't know if that's going to happen in the same way. But the point is, most people I don't think are stuck in $30, $40, $50 covered calls on Hood, which was the case for Palantir because people just didn't think that valuation could exceed itself and they were proven wrong. With Robin, I think most people are stuck within basically 75 to now 100. And I think that's manageable is my point.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also keep in mind, like Robinhood is up 310% over the last 12 months. Year to date, we're at 137%. So it's run a lot. So, but in a bull market, weird things can happen. Just be careful.
What a fantastic ride.
What do you say, Tanner?
I said, just what a fantastic ride. This has been insane.
Yeah. Yep. Charles can't watch Netflix with his wife because he's watching Amit right now.
Yeah.
Like this is.
One more thing on the market cap. Market cap of Robinhood, I believe, I might be incorrect, but I believe it's the second highest market cap of a company that is eligible for the S&P 500 that is not in. App 11 is number one. These companies need to get in. I don't know.
Wait, really? That's a hell of a stat.
Yeah.
If S&P denies them after having the second highest largest market cap, you said?
I believe so. I need to double check that, but given today's run, they're right there.
Sounds right.
Well, okay, we should actually end on this real quick. If they get into the S&P, this is where I really think the Palantir run happens, and funds have to buy this thing at 100, 98, maybe 105, who knows, by September. I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't want to be crazy, but we saw what happened with Palantir. I mean, maybe it does happen with Hood.
it'll be a little bit different here because institutional ownership is substantially higher for Robinhood, but usually the route is you get added to some other smaller indices, and then you get added to the S&P 500. And so institutions will shift from like one to the other, and so you won't see as much buying pressure. You don't have that with Robinhood. It's skipped several indices and could go right into the S&P 500. And usually, there's no guarantees, but usually you see more upside momentum than what typically happens. Is anytime a company gets added, it'll pop and then it'll kind of fade unless it's done something like this. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Austin's right.
Yeah. Look, absolutely incredible. Congrats to everybody. It has been a ride, as Tanner said, an incredible journey. I'm very, very blessed that all three of us were able to go on the ride together. And, the fun of making a community is that you're all here on the ups and downs. And I think this will be a very long story to analyze for the coming years. And this was one of those days. We're going to have some bad days. We're going to have some days like this again in the future. But this was one of those days where everyone remembers, Hood really showed off that they're not messing around when it comes to crypto, and the market rewarded them for that.
But it was like this on the gold event too. I'm just saying, like,
It's just been.
They're just showing off excellence.
Yeah. Time after time after time. It's just, again, it is becoming obvious. It's a generational founder, generational company. You lean into that. You don't back away from it, and you trust.
Time after time.
Yeah.
You let me hold it there for a second.
So one of those like crazy thoughts is, it's over 90 a share. Amit and I were buying at 9. Like it's a 10x from not that long ago. Tanner, you saw the light a little bit later. You didn't feel like you were late. You bought. It was like 17 or 15. Like that's looking really good right now. So
well, to clarify, my $8 average was in my options, and I sold my options already. So
okay.
I did well on those. So I don't have actual shares at that $8 price. But it just covering the journey since then. And then still, my last buy was at 83. Like I've been heavily buying this thing in the past 2 months as well. It's just cool. And the thing I love about Tanner is Tanner saw it at 7, didn't really get it. And then at 17, after that first quarter where they actually tanked at Q1 2024 in May, that was his opportunity. But he did what every sophisticated investor does: sees the growth, sees the market for whatever stupid reason, decides that it's not good enough, tanks it 10, 15%. Tanner was like, I'm in. And
it was a blessing. It was
hard to do that,
And then August 5th was a blessing. And then Liberation Day was a blessing. Those were the 3 times I bought a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty incredible.
But,
all right, folks, that's it. We're out. We'll be back next Monday. Congrats to everyone on the journey. We will keep covering Robinhood over the coming years. And yeah, big day for everyone. And congrats. Big day.
bye,
all
guys.
right. Bye, everyone. See you guys later.